The drought affects everything, obviously, because we can't do what we need to do to continue the farming.
Go up and take pictures of the irrigation ditch, which normally is running at this time of the year. That is bone dry. And that's the irrigation ditch that irrigated this valley for hundreds of years.
We're gonna go look at a patch of our field. Normally, like she said, it would be about 40 acres out in this field, but it's sparse this year due to the situation that we're in.
And sound. This is love. As the record plays, love.
Hi there, folks. I'm Keegan Van Hook, and this is Us As We Are. Today, we're on Magu Maiden Farms, where we're going to talk about hemp farming in the midst of one of the worst droughts the West has ever seen. Come on, let's go talk to the farmers.
All right, Alan Nussbaum and my wife Maria.
Maria Rubiano.
My name's Louis Cruz.
And where are we today?
Magu Maiden Farms in Ashland, Oregon.
And what do you guys farm here?
Hemp.
What's going on with the hemp farm and the drought?
Well, we've been doing this. This is our third year. We were doing 40 acres every year. It was very beautiful and everything, but now with the smoke and the lack of water, this year we're doing only 5 acres, and we're struggling to get those 5 acres done and finished. And the drought affects everything, obviously, because we can't do what we need to do to continue the farming, but we can work. We can really do what we need to do to survive. It's just very difficult with the drought.
And so even though hemp requires less water, you're not getting even enough to farm hemp?
No, we don't have enough, even though the way we do it, we do a drip system that it consumes less water. And in our farm especially, we did a system that is divided in sections. So if this side doesn't need water, we shut it off and we continue to the next. So it's very good for the environment, the way we did it.
State-of-the-art system that we put in.
But even with all that, we still cannot do it.
So how?
You should go up and take pictures of the irrigation ditch, which normally is running at this time of the year. That is bone dry. And that's the irrigation ditch that irrigated this valley for hundreds of years.
And how does it actually get like that? Like, obviously, if you go and look at certain streams and rivers and stuff, there is like water in the valley, but how does the shortage for you guys actually come to be? How do those irrigation canals end up empty?
I can explain that. I mean, I've lived in this valley 15 years, farming all 15 years, and we're not getting the winters that we used to. Majority of our water that comes down here, we rely on a snowpack, higher elevation. There's no snowpack, snow's already melting away in February, and we rely that, we need a slow trickle to keep those reservoirs full. And at the beginning of this season, we started with 30% in our reservoirs, where they should be about 85% at the beginning of the season. And July 20th of this year, we had our water shut off. So I've been transferring water, just to do our 5 acres from pond out into the field, and I'm working harder than I've ever had before on 5 acres when I was doing 40 acres, no problem. Yeah.
So is there some kind of is there like a human element to this? Is there like a government or otherwise institutional factor that is actually shutting off the water? Because again, there is, it seems, a certain amount of physical water. Who regulates like whether or not farms in certain areas get the water that is available?
Allen Irrigation District, there's TID and MID, and they're the ones that control the water around here. And sometimes, it's difficult, to get water and everything. You think that, it's your property, you can build stuff to collect water and everything. No, it's not that easy. You know, we have to pull permitted, jump through all these hoops, and sometimes we're getting denied. You know, and the thing is, I mean, we have a farm, you know, bigger than most farms here, so we do require a little bit more water than the 5-acre guy down the road, you know.
Did either of you have something to add to that?
No, and even the smoke doesn't even help either. It doesn't help with growing anything at all. So both things have been really tough on all farmers here.
It was like, I guess, the imperfect storm. But basically, you had the fires, so they emptied the reservoirs to fight the fires. You know, you have the drought, so you have more fires. Now you have less water to fight the fires, and you know, all the vegetation, all the trees, basically, you know, we're dying. So there's a lot more stuff to burn. So it's just.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, how does the fires and now all of this smoke, because it's a really smoky day today, how does that affect the work out here?
Oh,
Well, you can't work
tremendous.
outside.
You can't work outside. The eyes hurt, the throat is in pain, you feel drowsy. It just affects your whole system, so we can't work outside. We wait sometimes until it clears out, because sometimes in here, when the wind comes, it clears out, then we go and work outside, and then we come back inside. It's just almost very difficult. Very, very difficult.
Did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the fires are, you know, another situation here, you know. I mean, this wasn't a common occurrence 8 years ago, you know. Now, every summer, we don't get a summer around these parts no more. It's just smoke, 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 smoke. And, you know, it does affect the flowering of the plant because the plant's not getting all the UV that it should be getting and everything like that. And then, yeah, you can't put in the work you want to put into it. You know, 8 years ago, we could be outside all day. Now I'm lucky if I get 4 or 5 hours outside in the field because of the smoke.
So both drought and fire, do you guys see any end in sight with this stuff, or do you think it's going to keep going?
No, I mean, right
We
now
don't see it.
we can get record rainfall this year, and we're still right where we began this year because our reservoirs are currently sitting. The 3 that we use are 2%, 3%, 1% of water right now.
At that point, unless we have tremendous amounts of snow and a lot of water, which is not, we don't hear the water or raining any near soon. So I don't know.
Well, all what you've heard is true, and you know, we will fight through it.
So you guys,
We're trying, you know. We see how far we can get.
you guys intend to keep in business as long as you guys can?
Yes,
Trying. We'll see.
it's the life we have chosen.
So what's this going to do to the hemp industry in general? Maybe even just farming crops altogether?
It's going to change all industries. It'll change tourism. Tourism is not going to come to Ashland. You know, you don't take a week, you know, in a beautiful little town, city, and walk around and smoke. So it's going to change all industries. So unless this stuff is addressed, which is, you know, the drought, the water shortage, the smoke, you know, all those things need to be addressed, you know, for quality of life. I mean, you know, the air quality here is less than satisfactory, and again, that's not just going to affect, you know, farming. It's going to affect all industries.
I feel that something more can be done towards the fires to stop them, to destroy so many things that are so good in this town, in other towns around here, that they have beautiful summers, they have festivals, they have all this, and everything has to stop. Not because of the water, but because of the smoke. So I feel that if they could do something with the fires, the government should put something to help, put more people to work towards that. You know, it's not like a fire doesn't start because there was a little bit of leaves on the floor. It's not like that. These are tremendous amounts of forestry, and they need help to stop them before they go wild. And if they can do that, you know, things could be a little better. It's not only the water, it's also the smoke. You know, and it's not only affecting, people think it's the farmers only. It's affecting everything, every living thing, because the plants are dying, flowers are dying, The animals are looking for places to go, you know. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad situation, you know. I mean, in the back of my head, you know, I mean, it's just how much longer can we tolerate this? You're seeing people moving out of this valley, you know, because of this situation. And, you know, that takes money away from this valley. And it's a sad thing because it's, you know, really beautiful here. And, you know, now you come out and it's like you feel like you're living in an apocalypse, you know. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Well, for now, was there anything that I haven't asked about yet that you guys wanted to talk about?
My feeling is something can be done towards these fires, especially the water. We can we not to say we can deal with it, but there are ways to mitigate these things. You know, like we have a pond. Maybe when the water comes in, we can, like we did now, we fill it up. Now we have no water in the pond, but we had a bladder. So maybe we harvest less. We do less. We plant less. And we can help with that. But the smoke and other things is beyond us. Can't do anything about it, you know?
What do you think could be done about the fire, just to go into that a little bit?
I definitely think the government should step in and send people from, you know, from the army, from whatever, and just fight him and get that thing under control quickly so that it doesn't get to this point. It affects everything. The kids in school, every living thing. So it's pretty bad.
And what about you? Anything I didn't ask about?
No, but again, this is good. Hopefully there's a solution out there because, you know, you can't continue year in, year out having a summer of smoke. So, and what it's going to take, I'm not sure. But again, you know, there's a lot of, you know, government property out there that just, you know, grows wild. And when you have millions of acres burning, basically a lot of it is government property that's just not being maintained. So, you know, either maintain it or give it back to somebody that will. So.
What about you? Any last thoughts?
I want to touch on too is, I mean, a big issue with water too this year is we've had a big, you know, big influx of criminal organizations coming in and doing illegal grows around the valley. And there's reports all over the valley people stealing water. You know, they're taking their water trucks in the middle of the night into rivers and lakes and drawing water out. And, you know, I mean, that's just, it's not tolerable, you know, and it affects us because, you know, at the end of the day, we pull permits, we pay money to be hemp farmers, and we're getting water taken away from people that are coming in doing illegal activities. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're the ones that have to suffer.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, do you guys want to maybe show us around the farm a little bit?
Yeah, we can walk right down here.
Okay. So what are we going to look at?
We're gonna go look at a patch of our field. You know, normally, like she said, it would be about 40 acres out in this field, but it's sparse this year due to the situation that we're in.
And you're going to see around the valley, if you drive around, there's so many places that are dry and empty. If you would have been here 3 years ago, everything looks so green, so beautiful. People were planting, things were growing.
So you would normally farm all of this tilled up soil we see?
Yes, all of that. The whole thing, all the way down to the end.
Oh my.
And look,
around the back and up on the other side.
and look, we have 5 acres, this is it. And we're struggling with this. This is not, you know, we don't know what's gonna happen, if we're gonna make it or not.
Yeah, so like what are the economics of this? How much does it cost to plant like an entire field this size versus how much can you actually make back from it?
Not much.
Yeah?
Not in these days right now because the water problem, labor problem, COVID obviously affected everything. See, it's dry, the whole thing.
So this would also be your field here.
This would also be our field. So now, it's not what people think it is, you know, that you make
It's
so
farming.
much.
And farming is always.
It's farming, and farming is so many variables.
But as a product, basically, this product has got a lot of potential. It's not realized its potential, but
Eventually,
hemp, in 2018, as a country, we were the largest purchaser of hemp in the world. We have the best farmers in the world, and in a very short period of time, we could be the largest exporter of hemp in the world. But you still got to fight these problems.
You mentioned the potential of the product over here. What kinds of things do you use the hemp for?
Right now, the market is, this is smokable CBD. But it could be used. There's 30,000 uses for the product.
you can use it for. They're trying to use it for floors. They're trying to use it for clothing.
We were visited by somebody who wanted to make hempcrete, out of product that comes out of the field.
Hempcrete, first of all, fireproof. It's stronger than cement. It's a better insulator than cement. And now, you go to poor communities like in Jamaica and over in Europe, there's communities that are built out of hemp. Every bit of the house, other than the electrical and the plumbing, is all hemp. And then,
build cars with it too.
Our founding fathers, America was built on hemp. Farmers had to grow X amount of hemp in order to farm.
Washington was a hemp farmer. Thomas Jefferson was a hemp farmer. The government used to mandate that during wartime, that you grew hemp. Oh, wow. So, it was mandated, it was for many years. So
that being said,
farmers used to be able to pay their taxes with the product. So
that being said, why does hemp farming in its modern incarnation feel like such a new thing? Why hasn't there been a lot of hemp farming before the last few years?
Federally illegal until December of 2019. It was illegal.
It wasn't until about 8 years ago CBD was discovered. Everybody always, it's the same plant as the marijuana plant. It's cannabinoids, but everybody knew about THC. And then all of a sudden CBD was discovered. And after CBD was discovered, we've discovered CBN, CBG, Delta 10, Delta 8. This plant has numerous features to it. So that's why hemp farming, in the recent years has become a big rage, because now, the whole world is consuming CBD. And
CBD is the same plant as THC, but this one doesn't get you high. Gotcha. It's more used for pain in your body. People use it, sleeping disorders, anxiety, things like that. Like people who have Parkinson's, they use it a lot.
So there's a lot of uses for hemp.
Yeah. And again, we've, as a country, been using hemp for years, but we've been importing hemp for years. We don't have to anymore, and that should stop, because again, we grow the best hemp in the world. This is the best hemp in the world. This is the Napa Valley for the hemp industry.
And then when they used to bring hemp from other countries, they had metals, pesticides. We are here so conscientious about the soil that we don't use any pesticides. We make sure that everything is organic, supposed to be organic, even though we're not an organic farm. But everything we use in the soil is organic, because we know we need the soil for future. So we're not going to destroy it with salts and things that are going to damage it. So we are very careful with that. And so
even the plastics that we use to control the weeds, basically, could be manufactured out of hemp, which would allow Louis, at the end of the season, to plow, if he wanted to, the weed barricade back into the ground, because it's manufactured from hemp. So again, the uses for the product, we haven't tapped it, all the uses for the product. And when we do, again, this product will take off. But the industry will always have to deal with the drought and the smoke and all the other stuff. But as a product, the product has got tremendous, tremendous legs and roots. And it's going to be a tremendous product in the future.
So even though right now there's a lot of struggles going on with drought and smoke and everything that's affecting the hemp industry, because it can be used for so many things, you guys think the hemp industry long-term will be viable, it'll survive?
Yeah, right now the hemp industry that we see is a one-trick pony. It's, most of the farms here on the west, taking it for smokable flour. But that's just one of many, many, many uses for the product. And, as we as farmers adapt to what the market needs, we will, continue to be able to survive. But we have to adapt to what the market needs. And,
It changes also with the government, because the government keeps changing different things. So we have to be shifting one way and then another way. Every year we have new rules, new regulations, new obstacles to go through every year.
Why is it regulated so much more than other crops? Like, obviously there is the aspect that it can be used for smoking and that kind of stuff, but in terms of it being a product that can be used for so many other just physical applications in building and...
Well, the thing is, it still hasn't been regulated by the FDA, so the Food and Drug Administration, we can't put it in and say, hey, this is going to help you with this, and that. It's up to the individual to discover it and benefit the use out of it. But till we get that FDA approval, we can't really tap into, all the other markets that are available, as such as using it as a food ingredient, using it in the pharmaceutical industry, which they kind of frown on, because this plant, I feel, does more than taking a pill over the counter for people. To me, it's magical, because the proof is in the pudding. They're giving it to little children through our elderly people, and it wouldn't be a multi-million-dollar industry if that wasn't the case.
So what makes the Rogue Valley specifically, outside of drought seasons and awful fires, what makes the Rogue Valley so good for growing hemp? Like, why is this becoming the valley to do it in?
Well, we've been growing cannabis here for the last 40 years. We are sitting on the right latitude and parallel as far as our growing seasons. We live in a microclimate. So, it couldn't get any more perfect for this plant as far as temperatures, the soil, the elevation that we're at. And you can't really replicate this anywhere else in the United States. They've tried to. They try to grow hemp out in Kentucky, Tennessee, and other parts, but it doesn't look like our hemp at the end of the day.
Could we go look at some of these plants?
So everything you're about to look at right now was planted back in June 2nd. And when they were planted, they were literally planted as 2-inch little plants. Wow. And now they just started flowering, and they're about in week 2 of flowering.
We get it from seed.
Yeah.
We get the little seeds, and we plant it from seed, and we keep them in the greenhouse. And when they're so big, we come and plant them in the field.
So you germinate them inside?
Yeah, everything here is germinated, and then we plant, and average time, it's in the ground from June maybe through about mid-October.
Well, so explain to me sort of the anatomy of one of these plants, I guess. Like, what parts are what can be used for what?
Everything. Everything you see here on this plant, that's the thing about the hemp industry over the marijuana industry. Marijuana industry, they don't want the fan leaves, they don't want the stalks, they just want the flower off it. But with us, everything you see here, from the leaf, the stalk, and everything, it could be used to make a product in one way or another. The stalk, you can make fiber, hemp creek. It just goes on. And then the leaves and everything. The leaves, it could be put towards biomass, and biomass being used to manufacture oils and everything like that.
Wow.
We have in here little lines. We have the little lines that come in here, and it drips the water. So we not
We don't flood irrigate. Most farmers basically just flood a field. This drip irrigates.
It's drip irrigation. It has little emitters all along it, to where, to water a 5-acre section, I only maybe use 300-400 gallons of water. Wow. Per watering.
Because it's all measured to the exact that we don't waste.
So is there, this is a good method, I would think, for limiting the amount of water you use, conserving it, and that helps with drought.
That's why this becomes a good product, basically, even as a rotation crop for the farmers. Because
we also use this plastic for a reason. It's not just for the weeds. As the water's evaporating out of the soil, it's being caught in the plastic, going right back into the soil. So, therefore, I'm not having to water every day, maybe every 3 days.
Save the water.
Are there ways to improve this even more that you've thought of?
I mean, not really. I mean, this is pretty much it, There's people that farm without plastic, but, if you don't use plastic, you're going to be consuming more water.
That's what we want to conserve. And then you have to fight the weeds too. So so far that's the best way we have found. We have to cover to conserve the water. If it's not with this, it has to be covered with something else. But it has
Some
to.
farmers use hay, things like that, but they'll cover.
Unfortunately, for the size farm that we have, it's not affordable. That's another thing we have to look at when you are farming a project this big, You're having to watch your costs as far as labors, materials, and everything that you put into it.
So you were mentioning something about sort of all of the illegal farms that have been coming in here, and you sort of hinted at that prior to hemp legalization and weed legalization and all that, you were doing illegal farming yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I started, back in the day. We, had to get our feet wet. Yeah. And, my dream was always to see marijuana, being able to make a living off marijuana. Marijuana doesn't hurt people, it provides jobs in this valley, it's a livelihood. And, I wanted to see it get to a point we could all pay taxes and earn a living off it, here we are. And yeah, some of us had to start somewhere, and, we did, and now we're here.
What were some of the challenges that you faced pre-legalization?
Well, I mean, you couldn't go buy all the equipment that's readily available nowadays. You would go to a grocery store and there's police officers taking down license plates of every car going up to the grocery store. And, nowadays I call the grocery store and I get a truck delivery here. So, there's been the challenges along the way is finding materials, not getting in trouble. But, that was a risk that a lot of us took to make all this happen. And a lot of people really don't even think or look back on that. There was the grandfathers of this that took a chance to get us to the point we're at.
When legalization did happen, what was the process for you transitioning from being an illegal sort of underground grower to doing what you do now?
A lot of it just had to do with I'm getting older. And, I want to set myself up for retirement. And I come from an ag family in Puerto Rico. So mainly doing the hemp farming is playing homies to my grandparents, great-grandparents, and all that stuff.
And is there conflict today between you, the legal hemp farmers, and the folks who are still doing it illegally? Like you were saying, sort of the cartel and stuff? What's going on with all that?
I don't like using the word cartel. I don't like using that. I like using organized crime. And organized crime groups, they come into this valley. Us as farmers on the hemp end, the recreational marijuana end, we have to follow rules. And when I say rules, that means, we're pulling permits. We have the Department of Ag that comes in, checks our farms and everything like that. And these people being non-licensed, they don't go through any of that. Sometimes they're stealing electricity, stealing water, and that affects the rest of us.
So where are we right now? This is the canal?
At the top of our property, and this is where the ag ditch normally is full up to the top at this time of year. And as you can see, it's bone dry. It's been that way since July 20th.
And normally, where would this water come from?
This water would be coming out of Immigrant Lake. And, the season was so bad this year, normally they would turn it on about May 1st. We didn't get it turned on till June 1st. Then we got 3 weeks of water, and then they shut it off for 2 weeks. And then we got the water turned back on at the end of June to have it turned off July 20th. So we practically got a month of water this year.
Have you ever seen it this bad?
No. And years previous, they shut off the water. Like last year, they shut it off a month early. So there, the hints were already there. The year before we had a full water season, but it was 2017, water got shut off a month early. So, for the last 4 years, you could kind of see the pattern leading up to this point.
Well, anything else you want to mention about this?
No, I mean, I love what I'm doing, and, I'm going to fight for it. It's hard work, and at the end of the day, I'm working harder than I ever have before because I ain't have no water.
Well, thanks, Louie.
No problem.
We actually shot this episode several weeks ago, but it's taken us a while to get this edited and released because several other stories took up our time. First, back at the 1-year anniversary of the Almeda Fire, we talked with organizers of the Almeda Fire Commemorative Walk. Then, a short while later, got dragged up north for a huge protest in Salem against Oregon's COVID-19 vaccine mandates. Additionally, a lot of my editing time in the past few weeks has been taken up putting the wrap on Lewis and I's most recent educational adventure documentary, Oregon Quicksilver. Nevertheless, while the rains have finally come, drought issues are still very relevant to Southern Oregon, and we may continue to experience fallout from 2021's harsh summer in the months to come. We hope you enjoyed or learned something from this video. We have 2 other stories shot and in the editing lineup that should be coming along shortly, so subscribe to stay tuned, and we'll see you soon.
As always, a special thanks to our major Patreon supporters: Adam, Alex Zendejas, Amy E. Van Hook, Daniel Van Hook, David Henry, Christopher Marshall, Little Number 5, Lucas L. Bankston, Robin Jossie, and T. Langdon.
If you too would like to support production of this program, then please consider becoming a contributing member on Patreon at patreon.com/SailorBoyMedia, or leave us a one-time donation at paypal.me/SailorBoyMedia. Additionally, we're still producing short televised packages in partnership with Southern Oregon PBS. To learn more about that, check out sopbs.org/usasweare. For any other information or to contact us, go to SailorBoyMedia.com.